Hello and welcome to the channel again. This is Sam trying to spin to win on Swift. We made it and we're about to do the last stage. The body is saying
no, no.
And the legs are saying
hell no.
But at least the mind is willing to give it one more go.
You can do it!
I'm actually looking forward to this stage, believe it or not, for two reasons. First, it's the last stage. And second, the course or the parkour looks really good. Looks really tough, but fun. And I sure as heck need some fun after yesterday's Queen stage. Wow. No clue again how this race will pan out. Given the parkour, there should be lots of really intense short effort, followed by some rests. But who knows, it's the last stage. Everybody else's legs are tired, including mine. So we're gonna empty the tank and just see what happens. But as usual, before we get into today's action, let's have a quick look at the CRP leaderboard after 9 stages. Am I getting closer to being in the upper half? Maybe? Again, there are no significant changes in the top 10 in the CRP category. Mr. Gaunt is clearly the standout rider here with a 0 E-gap so far. Impressive indeed. And he looks a shoe-in for first place after the full 10 stages. But the battle for second and third is still going strong, I think. And there are probably 4 or 5 riders or so with a shot at the podium here. It will be very interesting to see how things play out after today's stage. And you should know the drill by now. Scrolling, all the way to 48th place out of 70 riders that have completed all 9 stages. I'm actually inching a bit closer to the upper half of the leaderboard, but I think it may be a bit too late now unless I have an absolutely fantastic result today and others above me in the GC absolutely fall apart. But never say never. As we watch the start of the race here, I had initially planned to do a brief review of the tour as a whole for me at the end of this video. But since I also want to discuss the good, the bad and the ugly in regards to the tour as a whole, I think I have enough content for another video. So stay tuned for a full post-tour review in the next day or so. With that said, back to the action. Due to family commitments today, I had to do a later start. So many of these riders I've actually not faced before. However, my strategy today would have been the same in any one of the races. That is, just to stay with the front as long as I can. Today, there is no reason to hold back. It is the last stage and we're gonna go all in. If I absolutely blow my doors off trying to stay with the front, then so be it. But at least let's try to go out with a bang.
Kaboom!
The pace started out relatively slow for all of 4 minutes or so, but then we get to the first sprint and people went really hard here. I had at first thought my legs felt pretty good today, but I was quickly reminded that I was clearly delusional as the legs didn't like the first effort here at all. And then I knew it would be a long day in the saddle for me, especially given the requirements of the parkour. My hat is off to all the sprinters, and as best I can tell, most of these people were also going for GC. So even more impressive as they don't then join the gruppetto, if you will, after or between sprint segments. Chapeau. We have skipped forward slightly now to the first go up the Yorkshire comm. One rider, Mr Bouwers, had gone off the front a bit earlier in the race and had a bit of a gap, but nobody in the peloton seemed to be chasing him. More on him later, by the way. Pace had been high, but steady, and my average is now around 300 watts at this point, so certainly not slow. The group had 23 riders when we'd start the climb, and we all pushed quite hard in the first red segment of the minimap. As mentioned earlier, I just wanted to stay as long as I could in the front group, so I was prepared to go all out here. We get to the middle part of the climb, and I'm still towards the front, so I keep pushing. I do slowly start to drift back as we get towards the top, and the group is getting quite strung out. But I feel I'm close enough to the front that I will not get dropped here when the group reforms on the descent. And that turns out to be the case. But I think we lose around 12 riders here, as the front group, once reformed, is now down to 15 riders strong. We have skipped forward a bit again, now to the start of the Yorkshire reverse com. The front group is still 15 strong, with Mr Bouwers some 9-10 seconds ahead. By the way, he actually ended up winning the race, with an average 4.4 watts per kilo for the whole race, with 5 watts per kilo over 20 minutes. He is also a Cat A+ rider, so what he was doing in our race, I honestly have no idea. Anyway, people pushed quite hard at the very start of this climb, and there is an immediate point of selection with 5 riders or so pushing away from the rest. I tried to go with them at first, but I'm already tired, and there's still a way to go on this climb, not to mention the rest of the race, so I am unable to keep up with their pace. The rest of us work hard up the rest of the climb, and at the top we now have a front group of 5 or 6 riders, with the second group now down to 10 riders, one of those being a very tired Sam. Another short skip ahead to the unnamed, but steepest climb of the day, which is also featured at the finish of the course, by the way. Another 4 or 5 riders have now snuck off the front of the second group. I don't think they attacked per se, they just drifted away slowly. I was still really tired from the Yorkshire reverse com, and by the time I realized that they were going away, they already had a few seconds and it was too late. But as we get to the very steep section of this climb, I can see that they're only around 10 seconds or so ahead, and I make a knucklehead move to see if I can bridge. I push really hard here, and for a while I am closing the gap, but I unfortunately run out of gas with them just being a few seconds ahead, and they go off again. I burned a lot of matches here, but I still thought it was worth a go. The rest of what is now effectively the third group on the road catch me up, and we ride together up the rest of this nasty little climb. The group I'm in keep a pretty good pace, and we stay together for quite a while. We are now on the second lap, and there is another point of interest coming up, where again I think I make a bit of a mistake. Mr Vandelle starts pushing away on the long drag that comes after the first sprint segment. Now, he had actually been quite behind earlier in the race, and already caught us up in the third group, so he had clearly found his legs. And then he decides to ditch us too. As he slowly drifts away, in hindsight, I should have stayed on his wheel here, as he would have pulled me along very nicely. Now, it is certainly possible I wouldn't have been able to stay with him, but I think I would have had a good chance, at least for a while. Instead, I let him go, and in the end, he finished almost 2 minutes ahead of me. It is really interesting how seemingly small decisions during a race can cost you a lot of time at the end. So our friendly band of 6 brothers in the fourth group now on the road stay together until we get to the last climb of the day. That very steep, unnamed climb that I tried to bridge on earlier in the race. I don't push as hard at the bottom as I should have, and Mr. Markian and Mr. Reid shoots past me as we start the steep section. From there, I just push as hard as I can, but the 2 in the front stay away from me. And I can also see Mr. Atherton, the shark, coming closer. He must have had a very strong finish to his race indeed. As we near the top, I can see I'm now closing on Mr. Reid, and I put in a bit of a dig at the very end to see if I can catch him, and also make sure I stay ahead of Mr. McKinnon and Mr. Atherton. I run out of road alas to catch Mr. Reid, but I do stay just ahead of Mr. McKinnon, who closed very fast at the end. And we cross the line for the final time of this FRR tour. Thank God. By the way, Mr. Reid, or Alan, has a very nice YouTube channel. I will leave a link in the description below. Please go check him out. Now for the results and a few post-race thoughts. So, the results of the race. Well, we can see that Mr Bouwers won, as already mentioned. Again, I think he was in the wrong race. With 5 watts per kilo over 20 minutes, he should have been in the cap division and not in CRP. What else can I say? Ho-hum. Mr Vandel finished in 8th place after a super strong second half of the race. So strong, in fact, I'm not sure what he was doing being so far back after the first half. For me, I came in 13th place, just behind Mr Reid. Now, I actually recorded some post-race thoughts last night after the finish, but upon review now and editing, I was talking absolute rubbish then. So tired.
Where am I?
So I'll give you a few thoughts now instead. Overall, pretty happy with the race. I thought for a second at the start that I had really good legs, but the first sprint soon set me right. And then it was just a case of trying to stay with whatever group I was in for as long as I could. I made a few mistakes in hindsight. I probably should not have tried to bridge when I did. I burned a lot of matches there. And I should have tried to stay on Mr Vandel's wheel when he decided to go. But apart from that, there's not too much to complain about. Again, it wasn't my best effort, but after 10 days of racing, I'm happy with that result. We'll take it and move on. Okay, one final thing. As mentioned earlier, I think I have enough content to make a short video about my tour, how I did, and also discuss the good, the bad, and the ugly about the tour in general, and hopefully provide some feedback to Mr FRR Race Control. That video should hopefully come out tomorrow, so please check that out. Thanks again for all your support and watching these vlogs during this Tour Britannia. This is Sam trying to spin to win on Swift, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.